What if the fear you feel most, the fear of failure, is not your enemy, but actually the doorway to your personal power? Pause for a moment. Feel the tension in your chest, the knot in your stomach, the whisper in your mind saying, "You can't, you shouldn't, it's too risky." Notice it without judgment. This is not a problem to solve. It is a signal, a signpost pointing toward where your growth truly waits. Fear is inevitable. It will show up whenever you step into new territory, when you risk something meaningful, when you attempt to expand into what you know is possible but terrifying. The question is not how to avoid fear, because avoidance is impossible. The question is how you respond when it arises. Every pulse of doubt, every hesitation, every second you freeze is an invitation. Every time you move forward despite fear, you step into personal power. Pause and let this sink in. Each act, no matter how small, is a reclaiming of authority. Fear of failure is a story told by the mind that whispers of rejection, humiliation, shame, and disaster. If you fail, you are not enough. If you stumble, the world will judge you. If you make a mistake, it proves you're incapable. Most of what fear warns about has never actually happened. It exists in the projection in what might go wrong, not what is real. Awareness is the first step. Notice it, name it. Feel where it lives in your body. Observe the tightness, the racing heartbeat, the sinking feeling in your stomach. Ask yourself, is this fear protecting me or is it controlling me? Almost always it is controlling. And in that realization, your power begins to emerge. Awareness doesn't remove fear, but it opens the door to choice. Choice is the essence of personal power. Every single act in fear, no matter how small, reclaims a piece of authority over your life. Imagine a writer who has avoided submitting work for years. One day, they send a single story to a magazine. Rejection arrives, and yet the act itself rewires confidence. The next submission comes faster. Slowly, fear is no longer the dictator. It becomes the messenger, the teacher, the guide. Or consider an aspiring speaker terrified of public speaking. They practice in front of a mirror, then a friend, then a small group. Each step is imperfect, each step is a victory. Each act in the presence of fear reinforces courage. Pause for a moment. Notice how even imagining these examples stirs something inside you. What rises in your chest? What thoughts press against your mind? This is the invitation. Action, reflection, and presence create power. Fear is not the absence of courage. It is the pressure point, the signal, the mirror reflecting where growth lives. Every hesitation is a doorway. Every misstep is feedback. Each moment of dread is an opportunity. Reframe failure as a teacher. Failure is not the end, it is guidance. The difference between someone paralyzed by fear and someone moving through it is perspective. Fear only has power if you define it as final. Growth, on the other hand, is infinite. Take a breath and linger here for a moment. What if each fear you face is actually a guide showing where your next growth lies? Ground yourself in the present. Fear thrives in the future and what might go wrong. Courage thrives in the now. When you feel fear physically, the tightening, the racing heartbeat, the sweat on your palms, acknowledge it without letting it dictate your choices. Breath, presence, and awareness turn fear into fuel. Momentum builds. Hesitation is the thief of personal power. It whispers, wait, not now, maybe later. Every time you move anyway, you reclaim agency. Imagine your life as a room filled with all the people you admire, the ones you aspire to be. Now picture them facing the fear they hated, avoided, or dreaded. Every one of them acted despite fear. Courage was never the absence of fear. It was action in the face of it. Picture a student afraid to fail an exam, yet choosing to study fully, not paralyzed by anxiety. Imagine a parent terrified to make a mistake guiding their child, yet acting with love and presence anyway. Visualize an entrepreneur who risks reputation, finances, and comfort to pursue an idea that could change their life. Picture a young artist who has kept her work hidden for years. One night, she shares a painting online. Criticism comes, praise comes, yet she feels her voice, her truth, fully expressed for the first time. Or a professional terrified to ask for a promotion. They speak up, and even if the answer is no, the act transforms their self-perception. Every act in fear compounds. Every reflection strengthens courage. Consider the small, almost invisible acts too. Sending a text you've been afraid to write. Speaking a truth in a conversation you've been avoiding. Trying something new even though you feel unqualified. Every one of these steps matters. Every one of them shifts your internal landscape. Pause. Let yourself feel what it would be like to act in the presence of fear regularly. Imagine your life if each hesitation were replaced by a deliberate, conscious choice. What would you gain? What would you reclaim? Reflection magnifies power. After action, pause and ask, what did I learn? How did fear show up? How did I move anyway? Each reflection strengthens courage. Compassion fuels it. Treat yourself as a brave ally, not a harsh critic. Everyone experiences fear. Acting anyway is proof of courage. Anchor in vision. Keep the life you desire in mind. Every act through fear is a declaration. You will not let the illusion of failure define you. Notice the subtle difference between imagining success and imagining failure. Fear tends to exaggerate the negative, creating vivid, almost cinematic scenes of catastrophe. Let yourself step into the awareness that these images are optional. You may choose to see yourself succeeding, growing, and learning. This does not eliminate fear, but it gives it context, a place where you can observe it, acknowledge it, and act anyway. Pause and take a deep breath. Imagine the life you've been holding back from. Imagine what it feels like to move through fear with deliberate steps. Each movement, each action, each decision strengthens you. Each moment of courage compounds into momentum, turning fear into a guide rather than a jailer. Now, imagine taking that first deliberate step. You don't have to leap across the entire chasm at once. Begin with a small movement, sending a message, sharing a thought, starting a project, speaking your truth. Each act, however minor it seems, is a reclaiming of power. Notice the fear as it rises, the heartbeat that quickens, the subtle tension in your body. Feel it fully and then let your feet move anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in its presence. Pause for a moment and imagine this in your own life. What is one step you could take today that fear has been preventing? Think about an entrepreneur who has a brilliant idea but worries about rejection, ridicule, or financial loss. They begin by sketching a plan quietly, researching, and slowly sharing their vision with a trusted friend. Each step forward may feel shaky, but each step builds momentum. Action compounds, hesitation shrinks. The fear that once loomed like an insurmountable wall becomes a guidepost, a marker of where growth awaits. Now expand this image. The entrepreneur speaks to a small audience, then a larger one. The feedback may not always be what they hoped for, yet their confidence expands. The fear didn't vanish, but the power to act in spite of it did. Consider personal relationships. A person terrified of vulnerability fears rejection or misunderstanding, yet they choose to express their feelings honestly, perhaps admitting love, disappointment, or a need they've hidden for months or years. The initial step may feel like walking through fire, but with each conversation, each act of honesty, they reclaim their voice. They discover a freedom they never thought possible. Pause here. What conversations have you avoided because fear whispered that you might fail, that you might be rejected? What would it feel like to speak anyway, knowing the courage itself is transformative? Even creative pursuits mirror this pattern. An artist, writer, musician, or creator often hesitates to share work, worried about judgment. One act of sharing, one brushstroke, one note, one paragraph sent out into the world rewires self-perception. Fear may remain, whispering that the work is inadequate, but the act of expression affirms your power. Momentum builds silently yet powerfully. Fear becomes a companion on the journey, signaling the edges of your growth, showing exactly where courage can flourish. Let's explore the concept of reframing failure. Fear convinces us that failure is final, that a single misstep defines our worth. But in truth, failure is information, a teacher, a guide. Each failure highlights a gap, a misalignment, or an opportunity to adjust. Imagine a child learning to ride a bike. Falling is inevitable, yet each tumble builds balance, awareness, and strength. Now consider yourself in a similar process. Each moment where fear once paralyzed you, each time you hesitated and now act, is a form of riding the bike of life. Reframe failure as feedback. The more you embrace it as guidance rather than judgment, the less power fear has over you. Pause and reflect. Where in your life could you see failure as a teacher rather than a verdict? Momentum compounds when we act repeatedly despite fear. Each step, each brave choice creates a ripple, an invisible force shaping your life. A student speaking up in class, a professional asking for a raise, a person initiating a difficult conversation, a creator posting their work, a parent setting a boundary. All these small acts form a lattice of courage. Fear is still present, yes, but it no longer dominates. It becomes a measure of growth rather than a jailer. Notice how even visualizing this chain of brave acts can stir a sense of power within you. Inner reflection amplifies this effect. After action, pause and ask, what did I learn? What did I discover about myself? What did fear try to tell me? And how did I move through it? This reflection solidifies courage, making it habitual, ingrained, and natural. Compassion toward yourself fuels it further. Acting through fear is never about perfection, it is about showing up, being present, and reclaiming your authority over your life. Every action, however small, accumulates into undeniable personal power. Now, consider the subtle, almost invisible acts of courage. A phone call you've been avoiding, a meeting you've been postponing, a difficult topic you feared bringing up. These are the moments that define personal growth. They may not feel monumental in the moment, yet in reflection, they are seismic shifts. Acting through fear rewires perception, rewires confidence, and rewires your relationship to possibility itself. Pause here. What small act of courage have you avoided that could shift your life if you stepped forward today? Reframing is key. Fear tells stories of impossibility. Courage tells stories of growth. Failure becomes a teacher, setbacks become signposts, hesitation becomes opportunity. Each act through fear is a declaration. I will not let the illusion of failure define me. I will move, I will grow, I will act. Visualize this as a river carving its way through solid rock, not by force alone, but by consistent, persistent movement. Your small, repeated acts of courage carve a path through doubt, anxiety, and fear. Pause again and breathe. Feel the energy of movement, of possibility, of personal power. Imagine a life where fear is a guide, not a jailer. A life where hesitation is simply a signal that a doorway is nearby. A life where each act of courage compounds into unstoppable momentum. This is not theoretical. It is practical, real, and available in this very moment. Finally, notice how each reflection, each pause, each moment of awareness strengthens your capacity to act. Courage is habitual. Empowerment is habitual. Fear is optional. The act of moving despite fear transforms not only your life, but the lens through which you see the world. Step into this awareness now. Let your body, your mind, and your heart feel the truth that you are capable, you are awake, and you are free. And now, the moment to claim your voice, to participate fully in this shift, to to acknowledge the personal power waiting behind fear. Be honest, what is the last thing you wanted so badly but didn't go for because fear told you you will fail? What did that fear steal from you? Share in the comments. No excuses, no filters, just the truth.